Hey everyone, welcome back to Paranormal Experience. I'm Melissa.
I'm Mandi.
And I'm Kelly.
Today we're going to do another cryptid episode, and if you've listened to us before, you know that we're not cryptid experts. We learn as we go, but we have fun doing these episodes. So are you guys ready to talk about Mothman?
I am.
Woo!
I found this super cute news article. It's from the Salinas, S-A-L-I-N-A-S journal, Friday, December 2nd, 1966. And it's page 1, and I don't know the author. But I wanted to start by quoting it. "The Mothman remains at large."
Dun, dun, dun.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The mysterious Mothman was still at large near this normally quiet Ohio River community. But the excitement he caused is dying down. The excitement began 2 weeks ago when Mr. and Miss Roger Scarberry and Mr. and Miss Steve Mallet, all of Point Pleasant, spotted a large white apparition flying at high speed following their car. They told a deputy sheriff it looked like a flying man with 10-foot wings. They said it was about 7 feet tall with large red eyes.
That is such just the way that it's written, it just reminds me of that time period, the 60s, the news
Like this
people.
hot off the presses.
Yeah, that's what it
The Mothman remains at large. Put it on page 1.
Do you want to know an odd little fact?
Yeah.
That Linda Scarberry,
Mm-hmm.
I met her.
You did.
Oh.
I did. My dad, when he retired, he moved back down there because the family was from Southern Ohio, and he knows that I like weird stuff, and we went to Point Pleasant, and we saw the Mothman statue, and went to the museum, and Linda, she was a very old woman at the time, this was over 20 years ago, but she was there, she worked in a little restaurant diner, and there was a museum that was kind of part of the diner. I mean, I didn't really talk to her much. I recognized her and I said hi, and she was friendly. It was a nice little southern little diner restaurant, cute, cozy.
Mandi does have a very personal connection to the Mothman. We will hear a little bit more from her, actually, on that in a bit.
Yeah.
She has a story she's going to tell.
It's not me, it's somebody I know.
But first, we have to talk about the history of the area. Point Pleasant is where the Ohio River and I'm going to have Mandi correct me if you know, Kanawha River? Kanawha?
I don't know.
No? Kanawha River meet. Supposedly, I guess it's just a bad omen. Why? I could not find out.
You mean where two rivers meet?
Yes. Oh, do you know why?
No, I don't. I was just...
Yes. So where two rivers meet, it's a bad omen. So apparently Native Americans usually didn't settle in an area where two rivers would meet. I cannot find the reason as to why. I can find this particular statement, but I can't find why. There is an old, I know this isn't exactly relevant, but there's an old African proverb, right? Where two waters meet, the waters never calm. So It does make me think that there's a little bit of truth to it, even though I can't figure it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I have heard that, so there's something to it. I just don't know what it is. It was the 1700s, and the Shawnee and Mingo tribes stayed in the area anyway. In 1774, Chief Cornstalk's men attacked the Virginia militia. Now, I guess the Virginia militia were moving into the area. I didn't see a lot on why, but I feel like it was just kind of the thing at the time, right? Americans were coming in, pushing Native Americans off of their lands. I feel like it's just kind of the classic thing that happened everywhere. And this was referred to as the Battle of Point Pleasant. The reason they attacked them was they were hoping to stop their advances into the Ohio Valley. This ended with the natives retreating. So the Virginia militia forced a treaty with the tribes. And all was, I guess, okay as it can be for being, pushed off your land for a few years, right? When Chief Cornstalk returned to speak diplomatically, but instead was captured along with his sons and murdered. It's said that in Chief Cornstalk's dying breath, he cursed the town. Have you guys heard the curse?
I have not, but if my name was Cornstalk, I think I'd throw some curses myself.
I bet you that's just white people gave him that name. I bet you his name is way cooler. And Was he Shawnee? Is that what you said?
He was. They did band together for the purpose, I think, of just attacking the Virginia militia, but they appointed him to kind of lead both tribes together, is my impression.
I do forget what it is, but I do know that along the river there's a park, and there's a statue of Chief Cornstalk, and the curse, I think, is written on the statue.
Oh, really?
Yes, but it's been so long since I've been there. But refresh us on the curse.
Yes, please.
The curse supposedly went like this. I was the borderman's friend. Many times I have saved him and his people from harm. I never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I refused to join your pale-faced enemies with redcoats. I came to the fort as your friend, and you murdered me. You have murdered by my side my young son. For this, may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted in its hopes. May the strength of its peoples be paralyzed by the stain of our blood.
How did he do that curse when it says, you murdered me?
I think it's supposed to kind of be like as he's laying there dying. So he knows he's going to die. He knows he's been murdered, right?
Sorry,
No, that is not a stupid question.
No,
that is 100% a great question. Because Lynn Fawn Cornwell Robinson, who is the 7th generation granddaughter of Chief Cornstalk, said on the documentary The Mothman of Point Pleasant, basically it's the telephone game. They repeated it over and over. Who knows what he really said? Yeah. I mean, there was even a play that they found from 1923. They actually opened up an area in a local elementary school that had been maybe boarded up or walled up, and they actually found a play that they had been doing in 1923 where Chief Cornstalk is shot, because that's what elementary school children. He's shot and he curses the town. Over time, the game of telephone happened and it grew longer and it included more. I mean, it's not a terrible curse either way, right? I mean, if that is what he said, it is true. He was murdered.
And if I've learned anything, it's don't question Native American curses because, they never turn out well.
So she basically says, something was said. I mean, potentially he cursed the town. They reenacted it and elaborated upon it. And he was basically blamed for everything negative that happened in the area. There was catastrophic flooding of the Ohio River between 1913 and 1937. He was blamed for all of that. The Silver Bridge disaster. So did you guys know that prior to 1966, there was sightings of not Mothman, but Birdman in the area? 50 years prior to the first Mothman sighting, when they coined it as Mothman, there was sightings of Birdman. A large bird with the head of a man, a wingspan of 12 feet, huge dark red feathers that glistened in the sunlight.
Kind of sounds like the same description of Mothman, though.
Except for lacking the red eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was daylight, you wouldn't see the red eyes. Because, they were talking about glistening in the sun, so it had to have been daylight.
Right. Those sightings came in for 50 years prior to the Mothman sightings. They were not, I don't have all the sightings specifically outlined here, but there was multiple sightings in that area. So the Mothman sightings did not technically begin in 1966. That's just, I guess, when the name Mothman was coined. It was known as the first sighting of Mothman.
It was that headline.
That was the headline.
Newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing that happened was November 2nd, 1966. Woody, I'm going to botch this, Darren Berger, do you know? No. I botch all names. I never remember names. Was driving a way that he had driven a million times before. Southbound on I-77 from Marietta. He was driving home from work at about 7:30 p.m., which would be dark, right? Because it's November 2nd, so it would be dark. He sees what I'm going to call a craft. It was about 25 feet behind him. The vehicle veered in front of his truck and slowed down, forcing him to slow down as well. He noticed that through his headlights, the vehicle has, he noticed through his headlights that the vehicle had no wheels, but was hovering over a foot off the ground. It was a strange shape. It was about 30 feet long, and it was shaped like a stovetop pipe. A door opened, and out into the headlights, a man. Now, that's the first kind of weird thing. Like, would you expect a man to get out of a craft that was hovering, that was 30 feet long? Like, would you expect a man to walk out? I guess, I mean, who knows? I guess aliens could be men. Could not be aliens, could be the government.
I feel like at that time I might not have, but now, like, because you know what it reminds me of? Is like, on Luke Skywalker's planet, the sand things. Yeah. That's what I'm picturing, because, like, they kind of flew low to the ground.
Really dead.
What were they called? Sand blasters? Or...
God, do you remember when we went and saw that? Yeah. Remember when we accidentally all went and saw Star Wars Burlesque? Yeah, like, we didn't accidentally, but, like, we didn't meet. Like, me and you went together, and then she was going with her husband, and we happened to know, and we all went together. We didn't accidentally go, we accidentally went together.
I think they're Land Rovers.
I think
Skywalker, isn't it?
That's the name of the car, though. Do we have Land Rovers, the car, and Land Rovers on Star Wars?
They probably named the cars after Star Wars.
They might have. Speeder!
It is a speeder.
Speeder or speed rover? I don't know.
It's a speeder.
Anyways, what I was going to say, this is before Star Wars. Like, now, just having seen Star Wars, I might think of a man like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say a man. The typical alien is, tall and skinny with a big head or whatever, but,
I feel like that's what you would think at that time.
Yeah.
Anyways.
This guy was tan, well-dressed, and smiling. He had slick back hair. So he actually, like, if you look at pictures, like, he is sometimes described as a smiling man. It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you watch this, Kelly, we watched the show From. There's, like, what smiling, Smiley is, like, one of the monsters that comes out at night, like the smiling monster. They depict his smile in pictures of him as just, like, huge, like, so huge that it's creepily huge.
Smile. Okay.
He had slick back hair, and he wore a button-down shirt and trousers that had a metallic sheen. Aside from the metallic sheen, they more or less matched the fashion of the times. They had a conversation. It took a while for Woody to realize the man wasn't actually speaking to him, but he was speaking to him telepathically. So Woody did describe himself as rolling down the window. And so there's the question of, like, why would you roll down the window if you could hear him? But it's like, to get a better look at him, it was raining. Supposedly the man asked Woody questions like, I don't have the questions here, but it was like simple questions. Nothing crazy. Just like, what are those people doing up there? Like, oh, like, why do you guys, like, go to work? Like, like, just weird standard questions about everyday life that you would expect, like, extraterrestrials to already know, because you wouldn't think that would be, like, their first time, like, landing, right? I think they would already know something. So it was just, like, extremely standard questions. And when Woody asked him his name, he said, I am called Cold. Cold?
I did Google it. You both were kind of right. They're land speeders.
Oh, land speeders, Land Rover, speeder, yeah.
Sand, land, yeah.
So, like I said, we're not experts. I don't know exactly how this happened, because this is a very detailed, you could get very in-depth with all this stuff going around this cryptid. I mean, it would take a long time. Like, you can't just research it in a couple of weeks and say, oh, like, I'm an expert on this cryptid. Somehow, he said, I am cold, and that is, supposedly his name, but in popular culture, he's known as Ingrid Cold. So I don't know where the Ingrid part came from. I just kind of, I looked, I don't see, like, how that happened. But like I said, he's also known as the Smiling Man. He is over 6 feet tall. There's been multiple sightings of him. This time, like I said, he was wearing, the blue metallic trousers and whatnot. Sometimes he's said to be wearing, like, a green reflective suit with a black belt. He does have the dark complexion, like, what he had said, he's tan. Small, beady eyes that are set far apart. He's described as not having any nose, ears, or hair. So that is a little bit on the stranger side. Also, he's still known to visit the area today.
When you were first describing him, I was picturing a person. But then when you said that he didn't
have like nose or hair, because it does, like, it is described as a person getting out of the craft, right?
It makes me think of like an alien, like trying to disguise themselves as a person.
And not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's what I was thinking.
the
Like
same
they're
thing.
wearing the right clothes, but they shouldn't
or like
be metallic.
In his tan, right? Like he's trying to cover up his green or gray or whatever color his skin is.
Yeah,
like,
or when he's seen enough, earthlings that he's kind of like trying to match the color tones all together so he can, kind of like walk among us, but, just doesn't have it down pat.
Yeah, that's what I pictured.
It is said that this is connected to Mothman. Some people believe that, like, Mothman is an extraterrestrial, that this is connected to him, but this man is not said to have wings. Like I said, I'm not an expert. And Mandi, I mean, you have family that comes from there. I feel like you know some stuff about this. Other than the time frame, I'm not sure why they're connected.
I really don't know that either, but I'm going to make a guess that I wonder if it's kind of like when we were talking in the episode that we had done about our own personal paranormal experiences. Sometimes you don't think of things as being connected until you look back.
I mean, and this was 2 weeks before the first Mothman sighting.
So I feel like that would make sense that it was connected. Or maybe, they were looking for him particularly, like maybe there were.
It is weird to have like two different sets of kind of phenomena like that, like cryptid sightings so close together.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe people just do connect them because of that, or maybe they're entirely separate instances.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you said, maybe one is looking for the other. Maybe Mothman is looking for the UFOs. Maybe he's looking for Ingrid Cole. It was November 15th, 1966.
Oh, so yesterday's date?
Oh, yeah. So how many years is that? Do the math.
I'm going to say 58.
So 58 years ago yesterday, Salem, West Virginia resident Merle Partridge. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to botch that somewhere in here. Merle Partridge.
Is it Merle?
I think I said Merle a few minutes ago. It's Merle. It's Merle Partridge. He's just sitting at home watching TV when all of a sudden his TV just starts emitting like a god-awful hum. We see a lot in like the media as like a precursor to like a UFO, right? I mean, can you agree with that? Like, let's just say you're watching like an old episode of X-Files.
Yeah.
The TV might do that, right? And it's like a precursor.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to mean somebody's going to get abducted, right? I mean, nobody's claiming that here. I'm just noting that, right? So there's like a horrible hum. The screen turns black. His full-blood German Shepherd hunting dog is restless, pacing back and forth. He's growling, he's agitated, and he's focused on the far end of the property. Merle grabs his shotgun, walks out on the front porch. Things I would never do. But Merle, he's going to do it. He's going to take the shotgun to the front porch. I can see Merle doing this. I would be like, Merle, get back in the house. He's looking at his property. He doesn't see anything. I mean, and this is a dark place, right? Like there's no street lights. I mean, this is near the mountains. I mean, it's dark. He doesn't see anything. They continue to look. The dog is still agitated. And then they see red lights. And these red lights are circling. They're not described as eyes. That's what kind of gets me. The only reason that this is connected to Mothman is because it's happening on November 15th, which is the day that the first Mothman sighting is said to have occurred. Otherwise, this wouldn't have been newsworthy, I don't think. But unfortunately, Bandit did take off after the red lights, and Bandit was never seen again.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, poor Merle, poor Bandit. I hope Mothman doesn't eat dogs. This actually, I don't think I actually brought the other one, because there's so many Mothman sightings. But there is more than one story about dogs going missing around Mothman. We're going to get back to the first sighting of Mothman. And it's 1966, it's November 15th. This is the sighting that I read about when I was reading the news clip where the two couples who were teenagers saw Mothman from their vehicle. It's said that they drove 100 miles an hour and Mothman was able to keep up with their car and just kind of stayed kind of next to, like, I kind of like imagine it as like their passenger window effortlessly. And during this time, they're driving near the McClintock Wildlife Station. Have you been to this area, Mandy? It's the TNT area. It's also known as the TNT area.
No, when we went, we didn't go there. We just went to the museum in the town.
Are you familiar with that area?
No.
So what the TNT area is, the reason it's called the TNT area is because during World War II, it was a $45 million munitions manufacturing facility. It is 8,000 acres. It was abandoned after World War II, then became the Virginia Ordnance Works. It was a dumping ground for chemicals. At one point, it was also a lover's lane because teenagers that are making out or getting a little radiation.
80,000 acres to, not be found on, while you're...
Eventually, this became a wildlife preserve. So, I know, weird, right? It was gifted to Virginia and became a wildlife preserve because that's what we do with land that has had chemicals all over it. There's like a power plant, abandoned like power plant on this land. Everything that happens with Mothman kind of circles this area. I mean, not everything, because the sightings do go kind of far out, but a lot of the stuff that happens with Mothman kind of circles this area. And he is seen going into this like abandoned building multiple times by multiple witnesses. And that day, they were kind of able to like lose Mothman near that particular building. There's a question of, did these chemicals create some sort of
like a mutant
or Mothman,
some bad
like a teenage
experiment.
Oh yeah,
teenage mutant ninja turtle.
Could be an
The ooze. So after the first sighting of Mothman, people got their guns. I mean, this is West Virginia, right? People got their guns and they went pretty much hunting Mothman. It said that they only had two questions: can we kill it? And if we find a second one, can we kill it? They were after it. It was such a ruckus that the National Guard had to step in. At least 8 people reported seeing Mothman in like the next 24 hours. 100 people at least would report seeing Mothman in the next year.
Wasn't it said that if you saw Mothman, like something bad was going to happen like right after that?
Yes. But also, as a warning, some people view it as a warning. So I guess it's, are you an optimist or are you a pessimist? Like, is it a warning or is it an...
Well, I guess it could be a warning, something that's happening and you're not impacted. But if
you are, right, you kind of view it differently.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody see him on the bridge before it collapsed?
Okay, yes, you are correct. There were reports of seeing him on the bridge before it collapsed, but some people have said that that is not true. Some people that were on the bridge that day did actually come back forward and say that there was no Mothman on the bridge. But, I mean, maybe some people saw him and some people didn't. The bridge was built in 1928, and the reason it was called the Silver Bridge was because of the metallic aluminum paint that was used to coat the steel beams. The bridge spanned the Ohio River and connected Point Pleasant and Gallipolis, and I said that wrong, I'm sure, and you know how to say this.
I know how the locals say it.
That's what I want to know.
Gallipolis.
On December 15th, 1967, a year and a month after the first Mothman sighting, it became the worst bridge disaster at that time in American history. Cars filled the bridge, holiday shoppers, it was packed full, over-the-road trucks. Everyone was crammed onto a bridge, and in less than a minute, 64 people were trapped in their cars in the icy water. 46 of those people didn't make it out alive. It was just determined that a small stress fracture caused the whole thing. It was a load-bearing steel beam, and the bridge just failed, and that was it. That was such a devastating incident that people didn't pay attention to Mothman for a while. So that kind of makes it seem like, well, were people a little bit fabricating it, or did people just forget about it, or did people just not see him? Or, like we said, people say that maybe he was trying to warn them. So that was one of the big things, right? Was he trying to protect the people? Was he warning them of the incident? Or was he the cause of it?
That story of the Silver Bridge falling was another story.
Because you have
family,
yes.
That was a big deal to them because it was so close to their home. They traveled that bridge, when they would go. And my uncle was an over-the-road truck driver. This was the 60s. We didn't have cell phones, and I wasn't even born yet, but my aunt was in a nervous wreck for a little while because her husband was supposed to be driving across that bridge. He was, with his load, and he had driven over it, I think, within a couple of hours before it collapsed.
Yeah, and there was definitely no marked safe from the Silver Bridge collapse at that time.
No. I don't think that anybody knew anybody that died in it, but I think they knew people that knew people. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Directly. But it was such a big thing to them. Like, that was the worst catastrophe that they had.
It's a lot of people on a bridge to fall into water. Cold December water,
I read an article one time, and it always sticks with me, how some of the people searching for the people that fell, that there were
presents littering the water.
That's so sad.
They were holiday shoppers.
Those presents that won't get given to me.
Yeah, worst Christmas ever.
Just really gets me.
The whole town missing people.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read like a couple of the sightings from November 15th. A National Guardsman isn't a National Guardsman. Excuse me for not knowing. Is that an officer? Are they just a guardsman? Like, what are they?
They're kind of military, but they're only called in for special. Like, it's not like Army, Navy, Marines. Mm-hmm. They're just like National Guard. They're there for protection.
So they're not an officer. I guess they're just a guardsman, huh? That's what they're called. They're referred to as just guardsmen.
Well, they're part of the military, I think, but they're not like police officers.
So a National Guardsman was on duty, and he saw a brown, half bird, half man, perched in a tree. It said that he sat and watched it for a while, then went to go get some others to show, and by the time he returned, of course it was gone. He initially claims that he was not going to report it, that he thought like his eyes were playing tricks on him, right. Or, kind of like me when I'm living in a haunted house. But then he heard the other reports of the Mothman sightings and claimed that started to come forward. 80 miles east in Clenderon, West Virginia. I'm never going to get these city names right. 4 men digging a grave saw Mothman just fly overhead.
And it was at night too, right? Because didn't they dig the graves at night?
I think so, yeah.
So the grieving
Yeah.
people didn't have to.
Well, if you just want to go back for a second, I did look up National Guard. So they actually are part of a military. The National Guard is primary combat reserve for the Air Force and Army. And basically, they are kind of called in for domestic emergencies, before they'll bring in the military. So, like, if there's something going on in the United States and they need some kind of militia available, they'll call in the National Guard versus calling in one of the other 4.
Not that it doesn't give somebody really more credibility, because you see people imagining things from all walks of life, or having their moments. All of our eyes play tricks on us, but I do feel like it gives them a little bit more credibility. Somebody in the National Guard, especially at that time, you wouldn't think would just want to say, oh, like, I saw this. They want to maintain their credibility, right? They don't want to look crazy.
Right. With having so many in such a short amount of time, it's almost hard to say you're crazy.
Right.
One person, maybe it was their imagination, but...
Ruth Foster saw Mothman standing in her front yard, just next to her porch. Freaky. I would freak you out, right? It said that she got a good look at his, and this is a quote, funny little face with no beak and big red poppy eyes that popped out of his face, end quote. It was the same height as her husband, she estimates. Her husband is 6'1". When she saw him, she was frozen for a minute, got a good look at him. She screamed and ran into her house and got her brother-in-law to come look, but by the time they got back out there, he was gone.
That reminds me of the story that I had. I think it might be a good spot.
Oh, is it time? Okay.
My grandma, I'm going to tell you the story how she told me the story. It was in the 1960s. My grandpa was at work. Her kids were old enough to be at work. She was home by herself. She went outside to hang the laundry on the clothesline. There was their yard and their house, and then there was a hill going up the back of the house. And she looked up, and she said there was a man with a cape, like flapping a cape like wings, and running down the hill towards her. So she ran in the house. She called my grandpa at work, which she never would have done. She kept peeking out the curtains, didn't see anything. I remember her telling the story when I was a little time, and we always thought there was a creepy man in a cape. But then when we started hearing about these Mothman stories, was it a man in a cave? Or was it a Mothman coming down the hill? And I just looked up the distance from where my grandma lived to Point Pleasant, and it's 39 minutes or 37.6 miles away.
Which is closer than, this was 80 miles away.
Right. So I feel like
if he can keep up with a 100-mile-an-hour car, he sure can go places, right?
Yeah.
My grandma never called it Mothman. She just always thought it was a weird man in a cape. Because he was at the top of the hill, she couldn't see good. She couldn't see any features.
Yeah.
It was just somebody with a cape. But we always wonder.
It is interesting, isn't it?
It is very interesting.
It's neat to... Because Mandy's family has Bigfoot stories as well, because that's a big thing down there, too, is Bigfoot sightings. So, not her grandma, or just different people, and I love to hear the stories.
It's weird, because they don't want me to tell anybody any of this stuff. They don't, but it's so weird. There's something down there.
Yeah, well, and is it, I don't know if that's like near the Appalachian Mountains.
It is.
Because that's all.
It is Appalachia.
There's a whole lot of
It is
stuff
like
that
the
goes
Who knows
on
what
there.
can hide in there? Yeah.
It is the start. You can keep going while I look, but it's kind of like the Appalachian Mountains start.
Yeah.
The next day, Connie Jo Carpenter was on her way home from church when she saw a large gray man. That's the one thing. Like, they all describe him as gray. Well, maybe not all of them, because I didn't sit and look through. There's so many, but a lot of them he's described as gray, which is kind of like alienish,
Yeah.
A large gray man near a golf course. You want to know what's so weird? When I was reading this 1966, I don't know what's wrong with me. I didn't think people played golf in 1966. Like, I didn't think golf courses existed. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that. I was just like, they played golf in 1966?
I guess I never thought about when golf started.
Oh, apparently it was longer ago than I thought. And all of a sudden, he spread his 10-foot wings and shot straight up into the air. But then he turned his trajectory right for her car. She stared at him through her windshield, and their eyes were locked. She couldn't look away. Her with his red eyes, and the next day, she had conjunctivitis.
Oh.
She got pink eye from the Mothman.
Without any real contact. That's creepy.
Now, the other day, me and Mandy were laughing at this, right? We were laughing at this.
We were.
It sounds so crazy that somebody could have gotten pink eye from the Mothman. And let me just tell you, she also did not like to go to the press. It said that she never told her story herself. But this is actually not that crazy. There is a type of conjunctivitis that is caused by radiation. Mothman, his eyes are red, emanate radiation, but there is a type of conjunctivitis that is from that. So I guess really what conjunctivitis is inflammation of the eye.
Yeah.
It can be caused by a virus, it can be caused by bacteria, it can be caused by an allergy. So there's multiple things. So radiation treatments are one thing. Some people have radiation treatments for different reasons, for their health reasons, and that can cause conjunctivitis. After knowing that, I think that it could be likely that she got conjunctivitis from staring into the red eyes of Mothman.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
And here we were laughing. Later that night, Mothman went to St. Albans and he was there frightening 2 young girls. 13-year-old Sheila Kane and her younger sister were walking home on Route 60, and they saw a large something next to a junkyard. The girls said that the creature was gray and white, stood 7 feet, and had large red eyes. It flew straight up in the air, and, that caused them to run home. It flew over them and chased them part of the way. It said, too, that a neighbor also witnessed the creature chasing them. So this is the second account that we've had where he just shot straight up in the air, which is really weird because people don't describe his wings as like flapping, like rapidly, almost kind of like a Superman movie where he just kind of like lifts off straight up. So, maybe I have the wrong impression.
So in any of the sightings that you've researched, are there anywhere there are more than one Mothman?
I don't believe that there's ever been 2 seen at the same time.
Because I want to say, and again, this was from a show I watched, that had a bunch of sightings that they, re-imaged or whatever, that there was one where there were like a few of them like in the trees or whatever. But I don't know. I'll have to go back and rewatch it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said that was what?
Well, it's I think it's Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, the Unsolved Mysteries that you were telling me about that I went to watch last night, but then I fell asleep.
Yeah. Yeah. They have one specifically just on Mothman.
Yeah, I was watching that one. It's called like Mothman Returns, I think.
Yeah.
I actually texted her about it too. And then sat down to watch it and then couldn't hold my eyes open.
I think it was getting late because I was writing this when you texted me, I think. I'm not going to time to do both.
So did you guys know that if you look online, there is a map of Mothman sightings? Like someone is actually, I think there's actually a few different ones where people are pinning them.
Okay.
Because they're still to this day Mothman sightings. And you can just like go on the maps and like look at all the Mothman sightings.
I was going to say, when's the last one that anybody's
seen? I think they're current. Yeah.
Really?
Like they still have Mothman sightings to this very day. The last one that I read about specifically was 2017.
It's not that long ago.
But I think that they're very current to this day. But I mean, there's so many of them that, I mean, I couldn't go through all of them. I mean, it's just kind of, like I said, this is something that somebody could do a whole podcast series on.
Yeah.
Well,
and the thing is, too, it's like any other topic we might cover. I mean, some people, even if they see it, they're not going to report it.
Right.
So you never know.
And there was like, I did see like a lot of like Reddit threads talking about like their personal Mothman experiences and stuff like that. I saw one where, somebody saw him on a building and they said that they were just sitting there like on their cell phone. And I'm thinking, why didn't you take a picture? But I did see actually the 2017 one, I believe there was a picture, and I printed that out and it, unfortunately it didn't print with the picture on it. So I think I just kind of like let it go because I printed out so many articles for this, but it was just a kind of a picture of, it looked like a man flying. I mean, it looked like something that you would see on the front of the National Enquirer. Yeah. Was it real? Was it not? I don't know. But there are still sightings today, and a lot of them revolve around Chicago O'Hare.
I've heard that.
So if you're ever around Chicago O'Hare, look for Mothman. Which is kind of weird because, it's a ways from his original. But, maybe there's a lot of Mothmans now. Maybe Mothman has been reproducing all these years. Maybe some of them decided to move to Chicago.
You never know.
Kids don't always stay, Sometimes they gotta go.
I found one. Most recent Mothman sighting, June 2022. In the Rockford Canal. Is that...
Rockford, Illinois?
So the Rockford Canal, described as black with red eyes. Sighting was featured in the episode of Netflix series Unsolved Mysteries. So now you will have to go back and watch it.
Dang it, man. If I just don't watch that.
Oh, yeah, Chicago area.
Yeah, Rockford, Illinois.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that concludes our Mothman episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Me too.
And we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.